Well, the college basketball season is over. What can the Hoosiers learn from watching this national championship game? I think there's a lot to learn from this. Let's break it down.
1 for 3 on the way.
Hello, guys, and thank you so much for once again joining me on Indiana Sports Connection, being part of this Indiana Hoosiers and Colts community on here. Thank you so much for being here. We have a lot to talk about today. Dan Hurley and UConn, they are doing something absolutely sensational, and we should be looking at them and Purdue as a blueprint going forward. There are many things we can take out of this game. And also, the style of play that Purdue played in this game was, can I say, it was pretty close to what Indiana played. Not shooting any three-pointers. Why did they do that? We will talk about all that on this episode today. I have a lot to get into. I have a clip from the vice president that I thought was very hilarious. And this isn't political. It's just funny. That's all there is to it. It's just hilarious. We'll play that at the very end of this. And I have some clips from Todd Leary, made some points about Indiana basketball, some of the same points I made on this channel. And we'll talk a little bit about what he said and why this might be beneficial for the Hoosiers going forward to go with this style of play. Or will Mike Woodson's hand just be forced? It could be, and that could be beneficial for the Hoosiers. We'll talk about all that and more on this episode. But first, if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button down below. Hit that thumbs up. That will get this video out to more Hoosier fans, and leave a comment down below. I also have a giveaway from Home Field Apparel, and I have the winner of the Home Field Apparel giveaway that I will be telling you the winner on this episode today. So stick around for that. We are on our way to 1,000 subscribers, so thank you so much for joining the community and leaving your comments down below. It really means the world to me, and I love just transcribing with all of you out there and talking about the Indiana Hoosiers. Now that we got all of that out of the way, let's get into talking about the Indiana Hoosiers. All right, so the game last night. So first, let's focus on Purdue. Purdue played a game with Zach Edey that was very, very reminiscent to me of what Indiana did all year, which is dump the ball down low, not shoot really any three-pointers. I think they made one three-pointer in the first half. And that just really seemed to cook Purdue's goose. You could see at a certain point with about 7 minutes left in the first half, Zach Edey was not going to be able to sustain this for 40 minutes of the game, and Purdue just couldn't hit any outside shots. Proof in the pudding that playing the way that Indiana played, like they just really, Purdue got beat by a math problem. The amount of three-pointers that UConn hit and the amount of three-pointers that Purdue did not hit, that was really the difference in the game. Purdue was not able to get the ball moving around. Now, what do we take from UConn? UConn, they are playing very similar type of basketball to what Indiana was. I mean, not style of basketball, but like culturally wise, I thought like this UConn team was very much like the, 76 team of Indiana, where it's just like they were overmatching people in every part of the game. And then they were just able to really like grind you down with the level of athletes they had on the perimeter. Purdue should have shot more three-pointers. But what we have here with Dan Hurley at UConn, he has like old school principles and old school coaching, but with like new style. Like the style of play they play is a new style of basketball. And then the types of plays they run a type of motion offense, and the plays they run take like 16 or 17 seconds to set up. Check out this clip on Hoop Vision that I just watched the other day. Check out this clip because this guy really breaks down UConn basketball, and I thought this was just magnificent. But here are a couple of play breakdowns from him, just showing some of how UConn gets it done out there.
A chin screen is a back screen for a player to cut from the weak side slot to the basket. Here it's Spencer receiving the chin screen and hitting the shot. However, that's the only time this season where I found the Huskies actually scoring off of that screen. Instead, they used the chin to set up subsequent action. Here, that subsequent action is zoom for Newton. On this play, UConn sets up the zoom again, but Caravan slips the screen and gets a layup. The Huskies also use Chin to set up a flex screen. Here, UNC is switching off-ball screens, causing Cormac Ryan to end up on the high side of Spencer after the flex. So Spencer cuts to the basket. And on this play, Kansas does the same thing, but this time when Spencer cuts, both KU defenders go to him, allowing Caravan a wide open three.
So you can see, like, the plays they run, it's just constant screening, motion away from the ball, and then it's just really hard to play against a team that does that constantly and keep up with them, because even though it might take them 16 or 17 seconds to shoot a shot, they're constantly in motion and you're constantly chasing, and that really wears you out as a defense. I mean, UConn, hats off to them. They get the victory, doing it 2 times in a row. That's even harder. Their coach is just an absolute lunatic, and just his attention to detail is very critical. What can we take out of this, and a segue into talking about Indiana? What Indiana has to do in the transfer portal in this next month before May 1st to get a team together that can compete in the Big Ten. So Todd Leary was on with Jim Coyle yesterday, and they were talking about Indiana's problems and Indiana's big guy problems. I made a video about this about a week or so ago about Malik Renew, but Todd Leary, here's a clip of him talking about, what Indiana needs to do in the transfer portal.
A point guard with more athletic ability and skills and strength and speed, and can get to the rim and can facilitate for other guys or create for other guys. And that's what Indiana doesn't have right now. That's what we don't know. Could Ja'Kai Newton be that? I don't know. But I certainly hope we're not at the point next year of having to have Trey Galloway fill in at point guard, because although he's capable in the half court of kind of facilitating the offense, I hope that's just another option that we have, and that's not our main option, because that Indiana's not at its best when that's what it's running.
So yeah, I have so many people telling me in comments, Galloway, he's coming back. Galloway should not be our top point guard next year. We should be looking for somebody who is a better shooter and a better facilitator than Galloway is. I know we all love him, and I love him as a player too, but he has these limitations, and we're not going to get over the proverbial hump that Mike Woodson has so-called set up for us, which the hump is really, he is a speed bump laying in the middle of the road, stopping us from going to where we want to go. But Galloway, if we get the kind of players we should get in the transfer portal, Galloway might be coming off the bench. Here is one of Todd Leary's next points, which I totally agree with him, and this is exactly what I've been thinking in my own head, and he so eloquently displayed what I'm saying, because let's see what he had to say.
Yeah, and agree with what you're saying, except for I think what we talked about earlier in the new analytical way of college basketball, where it's faster and shooting more from the outside. Finding a good 5-man, we got something we didn't realize how good we had when we got Khalil Ware last year. Probably not going to find another one of those guys for a while. And I don't necessarily think it's that big of a want right now, because I don't want Indiana to come down the floor and slow everything down so that they can wait on the big guy to get down the floor.
For one, our best case scenario last season was to get Khalil Ware. And we got Khalil Ware, and we got him to the NBA where he wanted to go. But what did that do for us at Indiana basketball? It did absolutely nothing. Khalil Ware, really, you can take his stats, points, whatever. But my point is, going into next season, if that's our best case scenario to get a player like him and get him to the NBA, then I don't want that for Indiana basketball. I just don't. If that's what we're doing, that's just not going to help us. He's got to play as part of a team game for us to be successful. And if we're just doing what we did this year to get another guy like that to the NBA, and then he's got one last point here, and this is where I really agree with him, because this has to do with our style of play and how that would change if we didn't bring in another big guy. Let's roll that clip.
I don't want to go back to that style of basketball. I hope that they don't get a big guy, and I hope that we do play with now we need some size to play on the interior and be able to defend opposing post players. But I don't want a big that, we're waiting on to get down the court so we can run half court offense and pound the ball inside. I don't think Indiana's offense is at its best. I don't think Indiana basketball is at its best when we're running an offense where we're trying to wait for two big guys to get down the floor and we have an actual 4 guy and a 5 guy. Malik can score plenty on the inside. And so I don't care about that position near as much as you're going to make everyone better if you fill the court with shooters, as opposed to trying to go win the war across the country of who's the best big guy in the portal.
Do you want another big guy? Want another big guy lumbering down the court? Also, that makes us play this type of buddy ball where Malik Renew and another big guy. How is the team going to be better next year if we go with that same system? The easy answer to the question is we're not, because we need to start going in a different direction. And, I know a lot of people that are older and have watched basketball forever. It's really hard to grasp these concepts of new modern basketball. I mean, Illinois did it this year and they pretty much flipped the script on a lot of things. Yes, they got pummeled by Connecticut, and so did a lot of other teams. But Indiana put Malik Renew at the 5 and then bring in shooters, because you are super limited. If Renew plays the 4, you bring in another 7-foot guy like Ware, and you have Galloway out on the court. There's 3 guys right there that can't shoot from the outside. That limits you to just having 2 guys out on the floor who can actually stretch the floor and shoot. And that's just not what you want to do in a modern style of basketball. It's not going to help the team. It's not going to help us long term. It's going to make everything this next season just the same as it was this season. And it's just psychotic to go with a plan like that and to continue to bring in a 7-foot guy. Renew is the main problem. Either Renew takes a hike or we bring in a 7-foot guy. We bring in a 7-foot guy, maybe Renew has to sit on the bench some, but he is one of our best around the basket scorers. So yeah, this last season, we had to play Ware and we had to play Renew because those were our best players, and that forced us to play that style of basketball. What I'm saying is we need to take this next step. Will we see this out of Mike Woodson? Will we see this out of the staff? And will we see Indiana move forward, on down the line, and play a better style of basketball that is going to be winning basketball? Purdue got beat because they did not shoot from the outside at all. They played exactly like Indiana played all year in that game last night, and that's why they got the shit canned out of them. They really needed to go in a different direction in that game, and that's just really hard to do. They got there seemingly because of Edey, and I can see why maybe they wanted to get guys in foul trouble, but you could see UConn, they didn't really have Klingon. He was not their main go-to guy the whole time. It was just he just plays a different role on that team than what Edey plays on Purdue. But because Purdue did not hit shots from the outside, they got outscored at the 3-point line. They basically lost by 15 points because that's how much they got outscored at the 3-point line. That's what happened to IU all season. They got outscored at the 3-point line, and it was just awful to watch. And if you want to see a different style of play, I think Indiana has to go in a completely different direction. Will Mike Woodson be able to do that? Will this coaching staff be able to do that? We're about to find out, because right now we have no transfers coming in. We're kind of in that dead zone of transfers. It's just all there is to it. We got to get guys that can shoot the basketball from the outside to make us an effective team. All right, let's talk about this clip. The vice president was on something, and she talked about women's basketball and brackets, and this is the funniest thing that I heard all week. This isn't political. It's just funny. Let's roll that clip.
Okay, a bit of a history lesson. Do you know that the women's teams were not allowed to have brackets until 2022?
Sweet mother of God, what is the holdup?
think about that and what that, talk about progress, better late than never, but progress, and what that has done. Because of course, when, I had a bracket, it's not broken completely, but I won't talk about my bracket. But you know what? Just how we love March Madness, and even just now allowing the women to have brackets. And
Day and night she talks. Each word more useless than the next.
what that does to encourage people to talk more about the women's teams, to watch them. Now they're being covered, and this is the reality. People used to say, "Oh, women's sports, who's interested?" Well, if you can't see it, you won't be. But when you see it, you realize, oh.
So that is absolutely hilarious. And I put some of my own flavor in there as well. Some clips to brighten that up. I hope that made your day. So Indiana basketball, we need to go in a different direction altogether. We know a year from now, we will be firing the coach if that is not the case. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Indiana Sports Connection. Until next time, stay classy out there, Colts, Hoosier fans. And the winner of the home field apparel, it is Derek Bogue 3948. Message me, just email me at weboyowza72@gmail.com, and I will send you your home field apparel out. Thank you so much for leaving a comment and being part of this community. And thank you, everybody, for subscribing to the channel and leaving comments. It means the world to me. I can't thank you enough.
Load it up and truck it. Are we gonna do what they say can't be done?
These days, I think cybersecurity is now as important as physical security. That's why when I'm online, I use NordVPN. NordVPN uses next generation encryption to keep my passwords and data safe, which is especially important when I'm traveling and I'm on public Wi-Fi, which is more vulnerable to hacking. I'm sure a lot of you are going to be traveling for the holidays this summer. Use NordVPN, one account that will protect all your devices and computers. And with their 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose.